What's up guys, my name's Nightfall here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be talking about the Savathun song Nightfall getting high score. In this video we got around 86,000 score for our final. We're around 23 handicap, and in this video I'm going to be talking about how to get to around the 60 to 80,000 scores. If you guys want to go for the different types, I'm going to be describing exactly how you can get there and the easiest way to do that. I also recommend you try this Nightfall just for the emblem. The emblem actually looks really nice little flower-like design. I don't know why it's all flowery, probably it's because it's in the archaeology, just realize that. But this Nightfall overall is not as hard as the previous one being the hardest one to date. However, I still think the Shadow Thief guy is going to be more hard, the guy that just disappears and fucks off a bunch. But this one's not that hard, and I'm going to be describing the hard parts of this, including the ogres, the burns, the class, and all that stuff we're going to talk about in this video. So starting off, if you're going for around 60,000 score, you can go around 15 to 17 handicap. If you're going around the 85,000 score, I recommend the 23 to 25 handicap, depending on what you can handle and what seems likely for you. Sometimes you can actually get around 80,000 score if you go for a 20. I believe our first 81,000 score was a 20 handicap, so you can definitely go for that. Also like to mention that they did kind of patch the Lost Sector glitch where you could go in a Lost Sector and get a bunch of points. However, it seems as though it's not really patched. It doesn't tell you the points that you're getting, but from somebody who told me that they said that you do still get the points, but you're awarded them at the very end, so you don't actually know exactly how many points you're getting. But so as far as the singe go, I recommend having a solar singe on it, because the boss as well as the ogres are going to be a lot of void damage. The knights as well as pretty much all of the hive are doing arc damage. There's going to be a few solar crossbow acolytes, as well as the acolyte grenades are solar, but those are very rare compared to the regular shots, which are very arc based. As far as classes go, we did a tether and 2 hammers. You can also go 2 tethers and a hammer. However, I feel like you need 2 hammers just for the damage output on the boss and being able to kill adds. You can also switch out the 2 hammers for Nighthawks or just regular 3-shot golden guns. I would recommend the 3-shot golden guns to be able to get a lot of orb generation. You get a lot of points off of all those orbs. You can get 6 orbs per 3-shot golden gun, which is a lot of orbs, which is very, very nice. I highly recommend you go for this if you are using the hunters. You can also try going for the Celestial Nighthawk to try to get a lot of damage on the ogres as well as the boss, which is going to be very useful because those ogres take a lot of freaking damage. However, you cannot actually one-shot them. You're definitely going to need to do like 2/3 or half of his health with that single Celestial Nighthawk. As far as weapons go, I recommend the same setup as last time. Better Devils, Mononon are fantastic. I actually started using a Wardcliff at some point because it's still amazing damage on those like close broad knights as well as ogres. So even though it's not arc burn, I still recommend at least one person coming in with a Wardcliff coil to dump in on some of those knights. It will make them very, very quick to kill, very fast, lots of damage that just burst onto those guys. And then the other 2 people, I recommend cluster rockets because of the boss phase. You're going to want to push him real hard. You're going to need some cluster rockets. As far as the mission goes, there's not too many hard parts. The hard parts are going to be around the ogre sections and the boss, as well as a couple parts in between. As far as the mission goes, there's a couple of little difficult parts I'm going to be describing here in this video as I go from point to point describing the hard parts, as well as a little bit of the in-between parts. For the most part, this mission isn't totally or completely hard, as long as you just keep on putting damage down range and using your supers efficiently. So starting off the main section in this big open area right in front of the door, after you kill the wizard, activate the hack on the door, then back away as far as you can into the other sections of the area. The enemies will spawn in towards the door section to defend it. If you're far away, you're going to avoid a lot of flak, a lot of damage. Shoot these guys from range. It'll make it a lot easier. If you're playing on the lower handicaps, it won't be that much of an issue, but it is definitely easier to do it from a farther range, to shoot the knights from a farther range. They're not shooting you the entire time. The wizard will be a lot easier as well. The acolytes will be far away, take a while to go to you. The cursed thralls will be a little bit more annoying because they kind of come out of the grass and stuff, but they shouldn't be too bad. Once you get in the door section here, this is going to be one of the hard parts. There's going to be a kind of ultra ogre as well as 2 knights. In this section, there's going to be a lot of thralls that come out of the door. You can tether the door here, get a lot of orbs for your team, and get a full reset. This next section with the ogre and the knights, I recommend focusing on the knights first. Because the ogre is kind of stuck in the back. He doesn't really do AoE damage. You can kind of head glitch him as well. I would recommend popping a super here to kill the knights out, whether it be hammers or Dawnblade or whatever you're using as your slayer classes, like the hammers or the golden guns, to take out the knights as soon as you can, and then work in on the ogre. And you should be able to get an ogre heavy from him, but it is not very constant or consistent. Once you kill these guys, the next set of enemies will be 4 crossbow acolytes. These guys do solar damage, but they all drop heavy because they're orange health. This is where you're going to get a lot of your heavy from, so use some heavy on these guys, kill them quick. It shouldn't be that hard. to do so either, but if you move through these guys pretty quickly as a team, your team has to be there participating to see the heavy drop. Heavy drop's very odd, so try to keep yourselves very tight, stay together, wait for your team before going to this section. You get a lot of heavy. Moving to the next section, it's not very difficult. There's wizards, the acolytes. There's going to be a dunk thing, which is right there. Just handle it the way you're most comfortable with. Most people just grab it, kill the knight, then move into dunk, and then you can move into the next section where you start to go underground. After you go through the underground section, kill off the knights, kill the crystals, you're going to open up into this big area where you're going to see a big ogre, a lot of knights, a lot of acolytes. It's going to be one of the hardest parts of the entire mission, so you guys have to really tighten up and be careful. For the most part, I would recommend just heading to the left side, kind of down below area. This side is actually surprisingly kind of defensible. You can only really see the acolytes from below, as well as the acolytes just kind of on the left section. The knights have trouble hitting you in this section, however they can, so be prepared. I would recommend dropping a tether on the right side down below, getting all those acolytes, kill them very quickly. If you're shooting one, they all take damage. You should be able to kill off very quickly. For the most part, just kind of hide from the ogre. If you got Celestial Nighthawk, dump into the ogre. If you got 2 of them, you could kill the ogre with 2 of those shots and kill him off the board completely immediately. But for the most part, try to take out as many acolytes as you can. Just stay in cover on the left side there. Take as many as you can. Then move in to shoot the ogre. If there's the knight on the left is harassing you, then I would recommend going in there with the Wardcliff Coil and just kind of nuking him real quick, or a lot of heavies, taking over that left side, and then fight the ogre, and then handle the rest of the knights on the right side. There should be like 2 or 3 knights over there, as well as a bunch of acolytes. You might want to handle those guys with supers to make them go through quickly if you did not use Celestial Nighthawk on the ogre. Then you're going to move on to the second ogre. I recommend just kind of shooting him from range. Don't go close, just wait for it. Melee knights will spawn, just handle them however you feel most comfortable with. Kind of bait them around. It should be pretty safe if you bait them into the area you just were in. There's going to be wizards and acolytes to spawn. Handle them accordingly. They shouldn't be that difficult. I don't think any more knights spawn in this area, which is going to be which are usually the hard part. And of course, there's going to be that ogre. He's going to take a lot of damage, take a long time to shoot. He likes to dodge rockets a lot. All the ogres do dodge rockets, so make sure you're shooting him a little bit closer than you're used to. And of course, keep cover because he will melt you very, very quickly. Head glitch as much as you can against the ogres. And again, I do not recommend using a Wardcliff. Do not get too close to that ogre because he will mess you up. And again, if you have Celestial Nighthawk or Golden Gun Hunters and that tether gave you enough orbs, make sure you use it on them. And again, I'd like to mention, if you die and there are orbs on the field, all those orbs go away. So if you guys are using a super, try to stay alive as much as you can, because that means the orbs will be there for you if you need to go back and get them. After you handle the ogre in this section, as well as the wizards and whatnot, again, should not be too difficult. Just avoid the acolyte grenades, which are actually devastating. They can one-shot you. It's ridiculous. After you finish that ogre, then you move through a crystal section. Again, shouldn't be that difficult. There's going to be a lot of crossbow acolytes down here, so be careful. They have the tendency to one-shot you if you get too close to them and they shotgun you with that crossbow. That splits off into like 4 or 5 little sections. And then after you get through this, it's going to be the last section, the last kind of area before the boss area. These guys, there's a lot of knights in this section, as well as a bunch of wizards. This can be very, very difficult, as well as ogres near the end. So make sure you move up slowly and together and kind of synchronize all your attacks. There's going to be a knight on the left. I ran in and Wardcliff coiled him down very quickly, which made this section a lot easier. Then you can shoot them from on top, the top section on the left, and then kind of shoot them. There's also great opportunities for tethers here, whether it be right at the beginning when there's a bunch of enemies and the knights, or near the wizards. If you can get both sides with a tether, that'd be optimal. The wizard section has a bunch of acolytes and thralls in that area that you can simplify. I don't know if we did. I would also recommend using hammer supers as well as golden gun supers in this area. That's going to have a lot of enemies to take them down really, really quickly. After you get the ball, which the little void charge thing, which I'm calling a ball, the enemies are going to start spawning a bunch of cursed thralls, regular thralls. Should be fairly easy to handle. There's going to be a bunch of knights in this section, at least 2 goldie knights, which are the orange health knights, are going to be in this section inside. Again, a Wardcliff coil will take care of them pretty effectively, or some rockets from range. I don't think that you should have any supers by this point if you use them in the previous section. But I would save the supers at least until the ogre section later on. And again, just keep on kicking that ball around, trade them with your teammates, just keep grabbing and dropping the ball will be the most efficient way to handle that, so you can save the most time. Again, you can leave the ball on the ground for like a good 20 to 30 seconds, so just kind of drop the ball, shoot a bunch of the enemies, kind of jump around, and then grab the ball again. Again, if you die when you're handling the ball, make sure your teammates know that you dropped the ball. And again, a lot of acolytes grenades in this area, especially because it's indoors. Once you move into the ogre section, there's going to be like a main first platform with 2 ogres, and then a last platform with the big shriekers where you dunk it with a 3rd ogre. Make sure you handle these first sections first. Do not peek into the next section until you're done with this section. Rockets should handle these ogres pretty effectively, pretty quickly, and of course take out the acolytes. The last section, I believe we use an invis hunter to go for the dunk. I would recommend taking out the ogre and a lot of the enemies before doing that, because taking out the shriekers are just not worth all the damage you take. For the most part, the ogre and the acolytes do the most damage in this area. Once you take out the ogre, you're pretty much safe to go. If there's a few acolytes, you can go in and dunk, but you can also take out the acolytes with your guns. Should not be that hard. Once you finish that, you're pretty much off into the final section of the game. You're gonna have a section of cursed thralls in this area, where you're gonna have to kind of survive and blow up. If you have gods of the points, or you have no more points, try to jump over these cursed thralls if you are good with the hunter. However, it is a little bit difficult, so be careful if you are doing that. But for the most part, I recommend just shooting these guys, going slowly. Don't let them spawn behind you, and just taking your shots accordingly. You should be able to get a lot of super masterwork orbs, as well as getting a lot of super energy and a lot of points. For the most part, you should pretty much run out of score, be around 18 minutes around this point. By this point, if you're doing really well, you should be around like 16, 17 minutes. You could get some points in the boss. But for the most part, you want to get to around the cursed thralls by 18 minutes and get the points off those cursed thralls moving into the boss section, so that the boss section can just kind of drain those points passively. And finally, the boss section is actually kind of straightforward, and there's a couple things I would recommend. Firstly, once you damage him enough, he's going to teleport to a new spot. And then once you damage him enough in that spot, he's going to close, and a bunch of enemies are going to spawn. Anytime there's ads in the area, handle the ads first, then move on back to damaging the boss. You don't want to double spawn on ads. Anytime he closes up on one of the sides and a whole group of ads spawn, I recommend a tether and a super. Don't use 2 supers, because he's gonna, after you clear out these enemies, he's gonna teleport back to the middle. You damage him a bunch, then you move off to the left side. Again, you hit him again to make him close up, but before doing that, make sure you clear out the ads that are there already. Once he does close up again, 3 ogres and a bunch of acolytes are going to spawn. I recommend focusing on those acolytes that are in front of you with grenades and whatnot. Again, super this area. Take out those acolytes as much as you can, because they do a lot of damage running at you very quickly, and then throw the rest of your super into those ogres as much as you can. They move pretty slowly, so you should be able to bait them pretty easily. And then take out those ogres. Once you do, he'll spawn back in the middle. This is going to be the hard phase of the fight. Now, I recommend saving a lot of heavy for this section here, because he's going to start spawning these little purple bombs that spawn around him that will follow you and pretty much kill you in 2 bombs, and I think he spawns like 10 of them, which can completely wipe your team if you're not being careful. So once he spawns back in the center in that section, I recommend just dumping on him with as much as you can. Shoot all of your rockets. That's why I recommend having cluster rockets, because it's going to be that long range hit. You're going to do a lot more than Wardcliff. Being very close to Wardcliff is kind of difficult. Again, dump into him until he teleports back and you're onto the wizard section. Once you've done that, you pretty much completed the fight, because the hardest part is pretty much behind you. Kill off the wizard that's in front, grab the ball, run back with the ball, kill off the wizards that respawn there, then move in with your guy with the ball. Get aggro with somebody who doesn't have the ball, and you should be able to run in there and dunk fairly easily. And again, he'll teleport back to the center, back up away from the enemies, back to a safe spot. We like staying near the spawn area section. There's also head glitches and whatnot on the left and right side. Figure out whichever side you like best and just kind of stay together. I believe at this point there'll be infinite ad spawns, so just try to handle the thralls accordingly. Try to put down some titan shields to mess them up and make them blind. But for the most part, keep cover from the boss. And then just try to use as much as you can and finish off that boss. You should be only 1 bar of health left, or half a bar of health, and you should be able to take him out fairly easily. Again, the hardest part is going to be that bomb section. It's going to destroy your life if you don't dump into him. And if you have a Celestial Nighthawk in that stages with the bombs, you could actually just dump a Celestial Nighthawk onto him. It actually might make him so he has, like, I think maybe a 10th health left, so it should be fairly good. And that's pretty much it for the Nightfall. There's not really too many complicated steps. Again, it's just going to be those ogres and knights that are the biggest problem, the boss bomb phase, and for the most part, everything else is pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments down below. And if you did like this, make sure you leave a like down below. It does take a lot of attempts trying to get these high score runs to try to get as much strategy for you guys, so you guys can go out there and guys, I said guys a lot, but I appreciate you guys. Gotta stop saying that. Tuning into these ones, and as well as let me know what kind of high scores you got, because I want to know you guys are using my strategies and just drawing. And if you have a different strategy, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. And that's pretty much the video for you guys today. Hope you guys did enjoy. My name's been Chronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.